Thank you very much for that introduction. I will speak in English. Hope that is fine. My Greek is not, it has never been good, and it hasn't improved. From previous presentations, we have heard a lot of what we will expect in the future. And this is a concern to me. I design buildings, that's what I do, and I've been doing my entire life. And usually we design building based upon what has been. So, for example, we design buildings for the past weather, not the future. The building codes all around the world are built upon experience. And that means that the buildings we construct now, the buildings we renovate, are adapted to the past and not the future. And I will show you how to address this. So first of all, we need to figure out the future. And of course, that is not trivial at all. It will probably warmer. I'm pretty sure that that is the case. It will also be warmer in longer periods. So, for example, passive strategies using the cool air during night will be harder to harvest. It will also be warmer during spring and autumn. Previously, it's been mostly a problem in the summer, but that also includes that we have a new combination of low-standing sun, that I will talk a lot of in this presentation, in combination with hot air. Definitely, this is something I'm totally sure of, that there will be new building techniques. There will always be development. And that in combination with the future weather is that I think we need to question the current building technologies. Of course, much will still be relevant, but we need to question it. And the biggest problem for me is that my old rules of thumb are not relevant when things changes. So this combined means that I need some kind of tool to design buildings for the future. And I will show you my absolutely favorite tool of all, and that is building simulation tools. They are totally, I have worked with this, I would say, all my life, and they are a lifesaver. The good thing about these tools, there are many of them, is that they can predict and optimize any building in any climate. So in principle, even if it helps to have lots of experience, you don't need it. You can address any situation with these tools, and they will tell you if you're heading in the right direction or not. So for example, I designed just a few months ago a building in northern Iraq. I had never designed a building in Iraq before, but with these tools, I feel pretty safe that this design was safe and solid. So these tools has been available for many, many years. I have used them for 25 years now in Sweden, from where I come. They have been in common use since the mid-1970s, and the first tools they were developed in the 1950s. So this is nothing new, and the best thing about these tools is that they work. I have designed hundreds of buildings during my career, and so far the tools have never failed me. Sometimes I have made stupid mistakes anyways, but I cannot blame the tool for that. Let's look at the current situation. This is an example from Greece, in Athens. So this is a chart type called, I call it carpet plot. So on the x-axis, we see the season from January to December, and on the y-axis, we see the time of day. And we see that the overheating in Athens is usually in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the day. And that is, of course, no surprise for you. You live here, you know this. So let's look at an example. So I have just designed an example to show this process using this tool. So this is a residential house, a home, a multi-residential house. And we have an AC unit, it's up on the wall, and we have a set point at 24 degrees. We have a big glass facade. And in the first example, this is a south-facing room, nice view, of course, and we assume that there are no shadings. You can see shadings on the facade, but let's ignore them for now. And look at the cooling capacity needed for this. And here we see the cooling need, and you see that, well, it's hard to see on the scale, but it says about 2,000 watts. And that is a huge amount of cooling power to keep a given temperature at 24 degrees. And to have 2,000 watts in a room, that means that you have sound problems, draft, and of course, you have to pay for all that power and energy. It's quite costly. Surprisingly enough, at least for me, since I usually don't design buildings in Greece, the cooling need is quite substantial in the middle of the day, quite late in the seasons, autumn. And as you remember, the temperature was warmest during the summer, and the reason for this is due to solar radiation. So if we look at the solar radiation, we see that the solar radiation, this is the direct solar radiation, is the largest in the middle of the summer. But then we need to take the solar position, the altitude, into account. And this chart shows the azimuth angle in relationship to the altitude during the season. And this, you all probably already know, we have a position of the sun about 75 degrees in the summer, but in the winter it's only about 30 degrees. And, and this means with a low standing sun, we have a light perpendicular to the facade that in combination with outdoor temperature gives all this high radiation and the cooling need. So now we have the setup, we have our residential house. How do we address this with the tool like this? So let's add an internal shade. And this is a blackout shade, so it's no technical in any way, it's just a woven material. And we can see that an internal shade gives a reduction of cooling energy with about 10%. So that is maybe not that much, but even worse is that we increase the cooling power, because instead of absorbing the heat in the structure, we see that the heat is directly transferred to the air and needs to be cooled down. So internal shades like this is probably not a great solution. So let's look into alternatives like this drop-on awning. And this is absolutely wonderful. You're working in the right field, definitely. You are making a change. But here we can see a reduction of 2/3 of the cooling power and cooling energy. And you also have much cooler windows, so the temperature feels much cooler due to the radiation exchange. Unfortunately, depending on how these are controlled, if they are assumed to go down, if I have an illuminance level at 20,000 lux, that would mean about 3,000 hours per year. And that is, of course, a lot. So let's look into a few other alternatives. This is one option. This is a SIP screen. Depending on the construction, the density, and so on, we can get a bit higher reduction, up to 25%, but in principle, it's roughly as efficient. This is probably a bit more wind stable in given situations. Then we can look into the temperature, back to that again. We see the gray scale here. This is the temperature span where people are probably comfortable indoors. And we see that in the summer it's warmer than the comfort levels, but in the winter and spring and even in the autumn, we have quite a few hours when it's cooler outside than, so we can use that cool air. So let's add an example where we have this SIP screen in combination with natural ventilation. And then suddenly we go from to a reduction of over 80%. It's incredible numbers. It's almost, I don't really understand how such a simple product can do so much. But yes, the solar radiation is a major concern. It's not just the outdoor temperature. And let's take this further. Let's look at an office building. So same orientation. And here we have another option that I think this is mostly what I do. And here, together with a highly selective glass, a glass that blocks the infrared and ultraviolet light, in combination with a highly reflective roller blind, in this case, we can, even if it's on the inside, have a reduction of 25%, even a bit more. And of course, in an office environment, we probably need some glare protection as well, so this could be a very nice example. We could also motorize it. I think we should motorize it, because otherwise the behavior will be a bit more or less random. So instead of having this internal shade down about 3,000 hours, if we motorize it and control it at the light levels indoors, we could reduce the amount of time these blue hours to about 500 hours per year. And yes, that would not give us this reduction of 76%, but still more than 60% reduction in cooling energy with an internal shade. So, so far I have only shown you the performance in the current climate, but the interesting aspect is, of course, it's very easy to try this out for future weather. You just feed it with the climate scenarios that we saw before the break. And of course, these tools, it's very easy, just fill a weather file into it. And heads up, I will not show you these, but I can say that the shading are just as efficient in the future weather. So this tool that I have shown you, there are many options. One of these that I would like to address is kind of a gift from ESSO to you. It's called ESPO. It's the first simulation tool that is endorsed by ESSO. It can fulfill the standards 15099, 52022-3, all these standards that you use. But most importantly, I would say that this is totally free. It's free for you to download from the ESSO website. And all these studies that I have shown you today can easily be done in more or less minutes by you or somebody nearby you. And the tools has been validated for more than 30 years, and it contains big databases, hundreds of products. So if you are interested in validating your products, your design, I would really recommend this. That was pretty much all that I would like to present today. Yeah.